Well, some say let your life be interesting. I don't think I've really, despite a lifetime of writing, and when I say writing, let's be clear about what I'm not saying. Just man, you're a piece of shit. Is that I just want to talk about writing. I love writing. And if it's something so grand, I will tell you. I will tell you if I'm an incredibly well published author. I'm not, okay? So I will tell you anything that's true about me, but don't assume more than I say, right? Human beings have been making symbols in their skin, in the ground, rooting around their own feces, um, seeing things in the sky, in the water, paper, whatnot. So I'm one of those people, right? So let's just sit me in the fucking context where I belong, with other millions and millions of humans who make signs and take some pleasure in the creating of signs, with the way other men maybe fix up their van and get their girlfriend to fuck them, with a lava lamp somewhere under an overpass somewhere and think it is romantic. Sorry, being a little crude, but the making of signs. I fashion signs. I'm a sign fashioner. I'm a sign maker. I'm a meaning maker. I like writing. I love satire. I've shown one of the first things I studied in college was a piece of satire by Jonathan Swift. I don't believe his name was really Jonathan Swift, but the point is that I I have an incredible flair for satire, an incredible enjoyment of satire. Satire, the two things I love to write the most are romantic poetry, sonnets in general, long narrative poetry. Not so much emphasis on the narrative, if you might be accustomed to such things. But a long poem is bound to have a narrative. There's some kind of story that's unfolding. A poem has a story. It's just, anyway, I don't like the use of characters so much as people who are looking for things and finding them, even though everything can be lost and seem lost, um, almost at everywhere you turn. In every direction, there can seem that we have lost out in life. What do we do? And this isn't a depression clinic, by the way, but most people are depressed. And if you're listening to this, you've probably been depressed or you know someone who's depressed. In every direction, if you don't want to call it depressed, it's fine. Like sometimes you just have moments of sobriety where life doesn't look so swell in any given direction. Things can look pretty bleak. Are any of you out there like myself where you could remove one person or one thing or a job or someone from your life and it would feel like you had nothing left? Have you ever had occasion to wonder about? Now, I don't want to put too strong a word on this because you don't have to see it this way. We're talking about feelings. We're not talking about like a scientific fact, but the loss of childhood. You know, not everyone thinks that way. Well, I lost my childhood. I'm 50 years old. I'm 60 years old. I lost my childhood. I lost. So I'm gonna talk in that way for a moment, okay? Because it feels real to me. I'm gonna look at it a little more deeply. So, because I think that knowledge, not always, but I think a lot of good knowledge can involve the personal aspect of our lives. People make YouTube videos all the time and self-help videos, but they don't really talk about themselves except to say, I was really like not sure about things and I saw cancer and it convinced me that I'm just a super awesome person who can help people. And that's as personal as it gets. I tell you that every fucking, if they're even a real person on YouTube, has a mom and a dad who has at some point fucked them over. Okay? Every fucking swinging dick, every fucking vagina between the legs out there, every spirit and the glorious gender that you were born with has been fucked over by your mom or dad. And they didn't fucking mean it. And it's fucking awful. And it's like, if they just fucking understood, like, oh yeah, I think we did fuck you over. We're so sorry. Let's all gather together and make sure that we don't fuck each other anymore. How much easier life would be. Instead, they say, you know what? No, that's the way life is, honey. That's the way life is, honey. You're supposed to feel like we're fucking you over. That's called adolescent development. You take that feeling of us fucking you over and go find a job and someone to fuck. And so it becomes labor and sex/recreation. And these groups, in everything that we're supposed to believe that they're going to accomplish in the world, can't. because the inciting conditions, the conditions that incited your membership, exert an incredibly corrosive effect upon it that is then projected out into the evil of the world and against your group. So to be part of an American society, right, what's incited your membership into America gets projected onto all of your enemies and all the things that are enemies of America. And your group, the American group, can never solve and never will solve any of the problems it's looking for, because it will never solve the problem it's not looking for, which are the conditions that made you an American in the first place and made you so fucking attached to being an American. Oh, sure, you're an American when you're born, you might say, but now that you're 21, you're a gung-ho American. You want to be an American. You're not fleeing to the border and going, I don't want to be American, I don't want to be American, although some people do. The inciting conditions to every group or cult, be it of labor, sex, or recreation, will always exert a negative influence over the group, because the group will never solve the problem attending the conditions which incited your membership in the group. The group is based on denial of those first conditions. It solves them by never looking at them, so that you can translate them into all kinds of other problems that presumably you can solve. The logical extension of every philosophy attending what your group wants to solve means that they can never be solved. In fact, you should hope that they can, because then you'll run out of fucking things to do. If someone said, look, we can never solve any of our problems, what's left? Well, what about the problem that made us think that we could be part of a group and needed to, that's never going to solve anything it says it can? And fucking hurts people that object to anything that happens in the group or what the group fails to do, even to the opposite of what you think. So the hypocritical level of the group. Hey, we want to save children. Oh, but you're fucking them and killing them. Well, that's just collateral damage. We can't answer for the lack of moral agency of every one of our fucking members. Because your moral agency is collected, like all of your labor and sex, by God, who then spreads it over like fucking manure over the forces of nature and genetics and goes, oh, your child has autism. Not, oh, your parents are fucking the child over and they're part of groups and society and a marriage where the inciting conditions for their membership are attending massive problems in their own early childhood development that the group will never solve. But they can solve all these other problems, and they can solve your problem, which is that you've got autism, and they're going to give you some drugs. And you got to go work and become part of a work and sex recreation group in your life. And that's all you have. Right? You can get a dog whisperer. This is an immigrant named Cesar Millan, or so he says. I have no reason to disbelieve him, but I disbelieve everyone in media, so nothing against the person, but he's probably a fake. But anyway, he came across the border from Mexico, and he shows people that their dogs biting people's ankles and biting their owners' hands and pissing on their children, right? There's nothing wrong with them, but the owners, in their ignorance of the dog's nature and the breed's nature, have essentially, if accidentally, trained that dog to be violent. But no one does the same thing for children. The child, right, who is just a child, we say, or you at any age, whatever you've learned that's violent, you learned as a child, or you're trained as a child, because your parents in the world did not respect your nature. But which now becomes part of the inciting conditions in every group that everyone joins, which can never, ever, ever turn its attention on what made everyone want to join those groups in the first place, which becomes translated into, oh, we're solving the problem of children who don't obey their parents. We're solving the problem of children who look like they're in a world of their own because something seems to have fucking happened to their brains, even though we love the fuck out of them. But we didn't respect their nature. Every woman I meet who has a baby thinks they're a perfect mother. Or, I mean, they question whether they're a good mother, but any woman can love the thing that comes out of her vagina, right? Oh, right, you feed them, you change their diaper. That's easy. Anyone can take care of a baby. As difficult as it is, you have to, you want to, you need to, you don't get any sleep, oh, long-suffering nature of the woman. But you try getting a child that grows up to be 50 years old who still thinks that you treated them properly and doesn't have to forgive you for the barbaric ignorance that you meted out to them, because that's basically the only thing really that has fidelity and honesty is that that's what happened to you. And that's what happened to your mother and your mother and your father and your father and your father. Because your survival became married to that of a system that wants to arbitrate for what you should survive, and failing which, whose fault is it? genetics, evolution. You don't work hard enough. You're not a good enough person, right? Anyway, I think I've said enough about that. Fascinating. But it's been an interesting few days. Yesterday and the night before was the worst 24 hours of my life. BC Transit initiated another malicious interaction with my home and trying to interact with my mother for some reason, who's never even taken a bus. Try to put that together in your mind. Again, we're talking about cults, we're talking about groups. Groups don't solve the inciting conditions as far as your membership in the group and the belief and the suspension of the belief it takes that part of this group, I'm going to help the world and do this and do this. And also all this other shit happens that you can't deal with. Your mind has been changed, shocked. Nobody knows why groups don't work. Well, it's because the family was dislocated. You're not supposed to grow up and leave your mom and dad and go and get a work and become part of a sex group or a recreation group, right? That's basic Freudian psychiatry. Go find someone to fuck and get a job. Become part of sex recreation groups and labor groups, right? And we're not trying to knock it all down and say everything that people do is shit. It might seem that way. Obviously, whatever works is great. You're here, you're in the world, you don't control it, you're not a megalomaniac. You're born into a complicated world and you're lucky your parents gave you the start they did. You do this, you found this job, maybe you found a girlfriend or a boyfriend, just blah, 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 blah. It's good, it's good, it's good. Don't take this away from me. Don't say that it's wrong. Don't say that it's stupid. Don't say that I'm just a peon and a slave and the world is just some fucking disgusting barbaric cult that makes everything look good and makes us incorporate and internalize a completely irrational way of doling out the precious nature of our own labor, our own time, our own flesh and blood. Don't say that to us. Don't take that away from us. But I'm not taking anything away from you. Who has taken anything away from you? What have you lost? Right? That's not for me to solve. That's for you to solve. What have you lost? What have I lost? So in my life, I lost my family. At the age of majority, sort of between 21 and 25, when my siblings were kind of coming of age as well, I lost my entire family. I lost everything that you enjoy in terms of safety and relationship with all of my primary family group. Growing up a shy, academically inclined, if compulsively, because that's what abused children do sometimes, is get focused on school. And I knew that when I quit school, but it was like 30 years later before I heard someone on TV say that. Isn't that fascinating? No psychiatrist, no psychologist, just someone on television. Right. What was it? It was the movie, I think it was the movie Heat, actually, on Netflix. I don't recommend it, but you learn something. You learn about the ways that they've conditioned the human mind to believe that all relationships are predicated on mutual annihilation. Look at the young girl. It's an awful, awful film, but look at how that young girl is left to die in that film. Right? Children doing well at academics is a perfectly fine way of coping with an unsafe home. I think it's that film or something else that I watched. It doesn't matter, because it's obviously a fact, and it's obviously known by the people who make films and TV. They know a lot about us. They know that our homes are broken. If you watch your favorite TV show, they know your home is broken, right? Not completely, but when we look at a problem, we're not looking to give ourselves clinical depression. We're saying, if this is true and we can feel it, then at least you're listening to someone else struggling to understand it. That doesn't have to make it worse. It's already what it is. I'm not going to make it worse than it is by talking about it. That's just a fear. That's just denial. It's going to be worse if we talk about it. It's going to be worse if we talk about it. Now, I can't say that you might not feel worse listening to me and that you should deal with that accordingly. But things that are bad are about as bad as they are, right? And then we set up bubbles of denial. The fact that so many white women think that thinking positive is essential to feeling good about yourself. And that they work hard to think about things a certain way so they can stay positive. Don't look at certain things, keep a positive spin on everything, and just keep trucking through life. Right? Shows you that they're in denial. Because no one in their right state of mind would do that. And furthermore, if you meet these women, I'm going to focus on women for a moment. And the good side of it is that women are very earnest about being positive and growing as human beings. The self-help industry is largely a feminine industry, so that's good. You know, I picked that up at a young age. You know, you went to bookstores, usually women there, self-help books, this. They're always pleased to help you because they want to help people to improve themselves. Hi, how's it going? Hey. It's very calm down here. If you go upriver, it's a totally different story. Yeah. Very calm. I'm sorry. There's a beautiful native woman. Now, some native women don't like me. And there was a white woman in her car waving at me, and I just think, oh, go fuck yourself. Go fuck a rusty nail. But when a woman like that goes by me, I think, so sorry. I don't say anything, just like, sorry. Sorry on behalf of the white man, the white woman, the pestilence that is the white race, and thank you for your infinite compassion. If you want to know how great the red people are, look at what's happened to them, and look at how much compassion we basically extracted from them, like their fucking core essence, by means of torture, murder, rape. And these are just words to most people, but we fucking did that. We fucking raped and tortured and bled and tied up with barbed wire and rusty wire their children and watched their children die. We took their families, we wrenched them apart, and we did it in the name of fucking the Lord, Holy Jesus himself. Okay? Nothing will ever make up for that. Nothing. But are they going around hunting us? No. Their fucking compassion shows you that their race and their civilization is the highest in the whole fucking world. So you want to know something about anthropology? You look into the eyes of a red woman and you see the fucking compassion of their race that still looks at you like a human being. And you're so fucking lucky. You're so fucking lucky. Now, I don't like a lot of red people. A lot of red people don't like me, but that was a nice lady. I gotta go. That's enough time sitting around here. It's a much less cool day, but that doesn't mean I can just sit around. So, I don't know what your fascination is. Another lose it. You don't have to. And I had an evil attack on my house. My mom thinks the plate just fell for no reason. She's so lovely. And she doesn't know I do witchcraft, but... And, you know, a plate suddenly breaking in your house for no reason is evil, but it's also the breaking of evil. It can't get to you. It gets frustrated, so it breaks things. Right? There are demons in the ethers. And those demons are made of negative human thoughts. Enough human beings live in groups, live in denial, whatever they think they're doing, putting that energy away and advancing and protecting the corrupting influences of the inciting conditions and their membership into those various groups. And we don't want to inflict harm on anyone when we say this, but like, this is very volatile shit. You should understand that, right? It's only for a mature audience. This is work. It's like giving you as much work as a fucking mountain, and you're in like basically bare feet and hands, and you have to fucking make that mountain do something for you. It's very fucking hard. right? If you're feeling that, you've got a sense of proportion. So you're not going to hurt someone. You don't want to hurt people. You've got a fucking mountain of problems to deal with. You got enough between you and that mountain. We don't have to hurt anybody. Everyone else has got that mountain. A lot of people are walking around like the mountain doesn't exist, right? Right? So if you're capable of talking about these things, you're probably not a violent person, right? Your anger, such as it is, and we should all have anger, we should have more anger than poops every day, is healthy. And your positivity, hard won. Your relief is hard won. Your labors aren't things that necessarily fit into a time card, and they never were. The heart of the earth is a stone, and I tell you, nobody will earn it or purchase it with money. I'll tell you that right fucking now. Okay? So don't think that anyone's ahead of you because they make more money than you do. The whole thing here is about knowing the sounding of the heart of the earth, which is the stone of the earth. That's what your life is about. The heart of stone. Don't let fucking God take that away from you and then build his so-called fucking church upon it. Okay? And that stone protects you. And that stone sounds forth the truth. Right? It feels the truth of the spring and the winter in your mother's and father's bones, even before you were born. Feel that. That's not just a poetry. That is a living, breathing spirit. That is the spirit of your mother, the spirit of your father. It's your spirit. It's my spirit. We deserve to be joyful on this earth. We deserve to be content. We deserve to be sound in our person, healthy, our dignity to always be respected, our property to be respected, to have such a range of contentment that we can afford to lose certain things, that we can afford to have patience to people who run foul of us, to be able to afford to lose certain things, because humans have mental problems, because everyone is joining groups, sex and labor groups every day, right? Sex, recreation, labor groups, based on conditions that that group, and no combination of that group, with all of its industrial force and its multiplicative orders of violence and wonder and absolute goodness and godliness, are ever going to solve those inciting conditions. And they're never meant to. This is a magical trick, you see. And the raven flies into that. You're never going to go to any psychologist, child psychologist, psychiatrist, who's interested in solving conditions in your life and in their life which cause them to be a psychiatrist, and to find a range of problems that they claim they can deal with, but have nothing to do with the fact that your mommy or daddy left you or hurt you or drink too much. They're never, ever going to help you with that. Ever, ever in a million years. They can't. They can't. You understand? Right? Right? Because not doing that, and that denial, which is natural if that happens to you, if you will, is exploited by every group and professional system in the world. You have to do it yourself. If you ever felt like you gotta do this yourself, you have to do it yourself, right? And there are people who can help just by being nice. If someone smiles at you, they're more helpful than someone who isn't, right? That native woman blessed me with her smile, her pleasantness. Right? So my house was under attack from evil, right? Last night I went to sleep with a headache, and then it passed. And that's just an aspect of the evil moving through the system, moving through my blood. My mom said she felt tired today. I'm not surprised. We were under attack. Okay? We got the house cleaned up and we go on our way. I ran into a woman in the building who's evil. Won't say her name. And I just said, in my mind, I just said, fuck off. You're nothing. Right? You know people that aren't good for you. You don't have to flat out hate them. I just say to them in my mind, fuck off. Just be completely flatulently satanic if you need to. Like, I've spent my whole life putting up with human energy. And I don't want to be yelling at people or punching people or threatening people. So I think parasites are telepathic. They can hear your thoughts. If you tell these people, which are basically in the capacity that you hate a person, you're hating the parasite of that person. That person is basically an actor for. Their personality is based on a parasite. That's why people have personality disorders, because they're based on brain parasites. Okay? And the human mind, I believe, is my theory, create symbiotic relationships with these parasites, demons, if you will, in order to solve problems that no group in the world is going to solve, even though it's the reason everyone joins every group, every labor and sex recreation system that they join, which will never solve the reason they joined it. Isn't that fascinating? I find that absolutely fascinating. Does anyone else find that as fascinating as I do? I find it fascinating. Please come with me on this journey of fascination. So, my mom is lovely. She's been cleaning up the apartment. I was helping her today. That's good. I felt another crap coming on the way. That's good. And life is continuing on. Spring is springing in its way. And we're going to be okay. Okay, so... I want to see if there's a way of crossing over this river before I go over there. In a month or two, I'll be able to go over to the island again. It's nice if you can do it in the winter, but only if nature really lets you, or you get your feet wet. So, it's nice to see that native woman. She was really nice. Yeah, pleasant. Having a pleasant walk. There's not a lot of women that would walk close to me like that. And it means that she's into earthy people. The local women would never, the white women would never walk by me like that because they'd be scared of me. The only reason they would walk close to me is if they'd want to fuck me or to steal energy from me in some way, functioning as a parasite. Now, perfectly nice people can be demonic. Okay? Everyone can have parasites. You think they're your best friend, but they're not. You wonder, like, is this person trying to be evil? Is this person trying to hurt me? No. They're not clear. They're wobbly. Right? They're not clear. They're trying to find a way how to hook into you. How am I going to get something out of you? Right? If you're not someone I can misuse and abuse or exploit, then I can't really spend time with you. And so for a sociopath or someone with a strong parasite or a narcissist, all these things like narcissist, psychopath, they're people operating as though in a parasitical capacity. Okay? And humans have had a lot of generations in their families to learn different personality strategies, narcissistic strategies for ingratiating themselves to other people. And we can assume for all the reasons that you might want to have friends, to get along, to be part of groups, to enjoy the benefits of survival done in groups instead of being all by yourself and angry like me, and so forth, and it's good. I'm not going to take that away. I don't have the power or the desire to take that away from anyone. The only thing I could take that away from you is the thing that might have already taken other things, like your nature, the respect for your nature, away from you. Right? Human nature doesn't get respected. Right? Male or female nature, and all the gender identity you can want, without ever having to dismiss the fundamental dipole of gender. It's not about having to be a woman or a man, but it's just whatever maintains your full inheritance of the creative energy of the heavens and the earth. As much as they can be seen as like a wonderful man and a wonderful woman who get together and make everything just as wonderful as you think it wants to be, and you can have whatever gender identity you want. Okay? It's a root system. It's not a social economic statement to say that there are men and women. Okay? You can bring it into that realm and say fuck men and fuck women, but there is that root. There'll always be peepees and vaginas. Okay? But you can do whatever you want with that. I don't dispute that. And you can, because you are fundamentally, on some level, a man or a woman, right? It doesn't give me the right to make you, to hurt you, or to confine you in some way to that definition. Doesn't mean it has to live in a social sense. It doesn't, or even a biological sense. Before there's biology, which isn't perfect, and before there's anything, there are little boys and little girls who have a nature. And it's not one of us who knows exactly how to respect that nature. But you do know when it's not being respected. And any family of mine has not been respecting it for a long time. And so it's almost not fair, since everyone else has got their own problems. Nobody has moral agency, right? People are going to act out their problems on each other to the end of time. Right? They have to. People going to work, people going into their jobs, people, police, They're going to keep molesting people. And it's going to be easy for them to do that, or to be used as dupes by other people they work with to do that. You know, you can see YouTube videos where someone goes, hey, so-and-so I think is a sketchy person. And then they go and they fucking beat the shit out of them. Even though the person's done absolutely nothing. Because they believe that the caller is right. They go off their word and they don't use their own brain. Right? They're too habituated to treating people badly. They think that if person A says they're hinky, then they're hinky. And that's it. They can go up to them and demand things from them. And any police officer comes up to one and asks you your name. And when you say no, all they want to do is sexually molest you and put their hands on you. That doesn't make sense. What happens after tells us the state of mind you had going into it. Oh. Oh. Looks like we can get around here. That's good. Well, the river's not too anything. Cross here. Hi. River's kind of quieting down. It's good. It's nice. Look at that. And birds on good. And how young opens. 18, 19, 20. My mom found a rune under the couch while she was cleaning today. And it was Nothis, and I'd seen Nothis in the trees yesterday. The worst day of my life. It's just like, oh. And it's like, it's the end of a storm. Come down here and the river's nice and quiet. It's the end of the river. It's like the end of a storm. It's a lot more feverish pitched a mile or two up where I usually walk. So I was going to go down to Coombs today, and I couldn't find any place to get something to eat. And a couple people from the past popped up, and I don't want to be friends with at all. This lady that has never had a real conversation with me, I haven't talked to in years, drove by and was waving at me feverishly. Hey, you're a man. You're young and pretty. Oh. You know, it's just like, oh my Lord. I never want to become that as I get older, someone who preys on younger people. I always assume you don't need to spend any time and try to be complimentary. I have something to say, let it be constructive. Right? Never underestimate the power of a few nice words to a younger person. They don't make